Hey, what's up? Wes here. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Versus. And today I'm going to be covering one of my all-time favorite beat-em-up games. It's an old one. It's a classic. You could even say that it was the first traditional beat-em-up game out there. But the game we're going to be covering is Renegade. Now, Renegade is a classic. It was published by Taito, but it was actually developed by Technos Japan. This was their very first game for the NES. But back in Japan, it came out first as Nekketsu Kōha Kunio-kun in this nifty orange cartridge. Now, there are some major differences within this game. The game was ported over to the NES. It actually came out as an arcade first, but it was totally Americanized when it came over here. So I spent tons of hours playing this game. I really love this game. So the differences between the two are very interesting to me, and I want to go ahead and cover them in depth. So let's go ahead and take a look at Renegade versus Nekketsu Kōha Kunio-kun. In 1987, Taito released a game for the NES called Renegade, which is arguably the first beat-em-up in the once insanely popular genre. The game was actually developed by Technos Japan, which would later on create quite possibly the most influential beat-em-up game of all time, Double Dragon. What many people may not realize, though, is that the game was westernized when ported to the United States and Europe, with many changes made to the character sprites, backgrounds, and plot to conform to America's culture. The original Japanese version is called Nekketsu Kōha Kunio-kun, which roughly translates to Hot-Blooded Tough Guy Kunio. This game is actually the inaugural one from the extremely popular Kunio-kun series in Japan, made up of numerous titles, some of which found their way over here to the States, including Super Dodgeball, World Cup Soccer, and the infamous River City Ransom. Nekketsu Kōha Kunio-kun's story revolves around a schoolyard rivalry in which Kunio's best friend Hiroshi is kidnapped by rival thugs, and it's up to Kunio and Kunio alone to rescue his longtime companion. Many of the toughs encountered throughout the game, and even Kunio himself, sport Japanese high school uniforms. Renegade's premise, on the other hand, consists of a pretty generic narrative in which your protagonist, simply named Mr. K, Mr. Kunio maybe, finds himself swarmed by a gang of street punks at 2 a.m. in the subway. Pretty lame, huh? The summarization of the story is right there on the cartridge. That's really all you need to know. Now, why the hell is Mr. K hanging out by himself in the subways on the wrong side of the tracks at 2 in the morning anyway? Is he lonely and looking for love? Trying to score some blow? Maybe this is the video game adaptation of the Bernie Getz story. Who cares? You don't play Renegade for an engrossing tale. All that matters is that it's fun to kick the shit out of bad guys. When turning on both games, we get a quick rendition of the Kunio-kun theme. Sound familiar? That's because it's also used in Super Dodgeball. That little jingle is what alerted me to the whole Kunio-kun series to begin with. The Famicom version goes a step further and displays a quick cutscene in which Kunio's rivals kidnap his classmate and best friend Hiroshi, with Kunio giving chase, following closely behind on a motorcycle. After pressing start on both games, the differences are quite contrasting. Renegade starts out in the aforementioned underground subway station, while Kunio-kun begins at an outdoor train station during the middle of the day. Both games offer 3 levels of difficulty, with the day getting later the more difficult the game is set. Another standout difference are the character sprites. Kunio-kun is decked out in his white school uniform, while the antagonist donned the blue wardrobe of Kunio's rival's school. Renegade was completely Americanized, draping the protagonists and antagonists alike with cartoony, late 70s garb reminiscent of the cult classic film The Warriors. Gotta appeal to the Western Hemisphere somehow, right? Once inside of the trains, the only difference in the background are the colors of the windows, reflecting the current time of day in the Japanese version. On both games, baddies surround you from all directions, but luckily, the fighting mechanics Technos employed for this game are done exceptionally well, with the B button attacking to your left, while the A button attacks to your right. Basically, you punch who's in front of you and kick whomever is behind. This fighting mechanic was reintroduced later on in Double Dragon 2. Exiting the train car brings you face to face with the first boss. Another Warriors lookalike clone, Jack will grab Mr. K and pummel his face, and if he beats your ass, has some choice words for you. On the same token, Kunio faces off against Riki, a boss from Kunio's rival school, draped in his blue uniform with the exact same fighting moves as Jack. He too will jaw at you if he wins. Their profile sprites are completely different. Once defeated, both Mr. K and Kunio let Jack and Riki know respectively that they fucked with the wrong guy. The next stage is identical, including the sprites of the game. Purple is a very redeeming color for troubled youths that have chosen an ominous path of violence and crime. I don't know why, but as a kid, I always thought that these guys looked kinda like Charles Bronson. After kicking several baddies off of their motorcycles, you eventually take one for a joyride down the interstate where you cross the Bosuzuku and Kunio-kun, or in Renegade, your standard American biker gang. After kicking a few of the toughs off of their bikes, you meet up with the second boss, Joel, a mohawked fiend in a mask, while Shinji greets you in Kunio-kun, like the others, draped in his blue school uniform. Just like Jack and Riki before them, Joel and Shinji also have some choice words for our protagonists if defeated. But chances are, you won't ever have to hear the vile trash spewed from either of their mouths, as neither one is overly difficult, and like the original Double Dragon on the NES, your life meter is completely restored once you begin a new scene. Stage 3 is the next level in which you'll notice some major differences. This stage consists of nothing but females in search of My Doll. Once again, Kunio-kun has the female horde decked out in their finest schoolyard garb, while Renegade pits you up against a group of angry chicks in pink dresses, attacking you with their purses. Isn't this a dangerous place for a young lady? Yow! It's surprising that Nintendo allowed you to punch and kick females in this game, seeing as back in the day Nintendo had such a stiffy for censorship.
Mamma mia!
Remember Final Fight? Just as surprising is the beer sign in Renegade. Again, censorship. Nintendo had a zero-tolerance policy against alcohol.
Whoa!
I guess because this is such an early game in the Nintendo library, it slipped past the censors. Once all of the feral females have been defeated, you can choose one of two paths. The path on the right introduces you to a Sukeban named Misuzu, the boss of the female gang. Now if you ask me, she's the toughest and biggest enemy in the game, picking you up, slapping you around, and tossing you aside like a piece of trash. This actually sounds more like an old Japanese pervert's idea of a good time. In Renegade, the character sprites are essentially the same except for the outfit. Kim wears a red dress here in the States, while Misuzu dons the same blue school uniform that the rest of her crew sports. The profile sprite of this beefy heifer is exactly the same, except for maybe a slight color alteration. Now, since I find this boss the most difficult in the game, I've always chosen the path on the left, which puts you in a room filled with the Sukeban's minions. I love how this lady back here just sits back and watches the fight, enjoying the show. Regardless of which path you take, the destination is the same. The fourth and final stage once again pits you up against the same baddies from stage 1, but this level has a maze to navigate. Each room, once the baddies have all been rubbed out, have multiple paths to choose from, some returning you to previous rooms, and others even sending you back to the previous stage. This maze is the same on both versions, but changed drastically between the 3 difficulty levels that the game offers. The rooms get fairly difficult, with some of them containing multiple bosses, and even baddies cutting up the rug on motorcycles. Selecting the correct destination eventually brings you to the gang's leader and final boss, Sabu. Sabu is one ugly son of a bitch, with a leather mid of a face that even his own mother wouldn't grace with her lips. If you're not careful, this Quasimodo-looking bastard will pop a cap in your ass, so attacking him before he's able to pull his piece is crucial. The only difference between this boss here is that he wears an orange suit in the Japanese version, while his threads in the American one consists of a puke green. When Kunio defeats Sabu, Hiroshi emerges unscathed and thanks you with a grateful handshake before the credits roll. When Mr. K takes out Sabu, we get... yeah, we don't get an ending. Lousy story equals no need for an ending. Just credits. Pretty unsatisfying if you ask me. Renegade definitely falls short in this category compared to Kunio-kun, but regardless, both games are a ton of fun, and endings in games from 1987 weren't exactly commonplace. Once the credits finish, Technos bids us adieu with its very first NES/Famicom game coming to a close. So there you go, short but sweet. And this game is very short. I actually beat it the other night in just 8 minutes, and I know I can beat it even quicker than that. So I'm gonna actually give it another go, see if I can do a speed run, see how quick I can beat it, and I'll probably end up posting it up later, my quickest time, and if anyone wants to challenge it, be my guest. Now, this game is very cheap. You should be able to find it for under 10 bucks, and the Famicom version isn't too expensive either. So it's a very affordable game. Now, one of the reasons that I feel this game is so accessible by today's standards is because the game is really fast. It doesn't take long to play it, and it was basically a blueprint for the later beat-em-up games to come out, especially the Double Dragon series. You can see a lot of influence from Renegade into the Double Dragon series, especially since it was developed by the same company, Technos. So once again, I had a lot of fun covering this game. If you notice any differences that I failed to mention, go ahead and let me know, because chances are I missed it. I don't even know about it. And the game is so short that I'm pretty sure I covered most of it, but like I said, I could have missed something, so please let me know if I did. Now, if you want to see more of these Versus videos, my new shooter series, some top 10s reviews, I implore you to go ahead and click that subscribe button. And if you like this video, please click that like button. It would help me out a lot, and I would really, really appreciate it. So I'd just like to say thanks a whole lot for watching, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later.